Are you talking to me?
Yes.
I thought you were talking to the audience.
No.
Hey there, beautiful people. Welcome to FANTI, the podcast for all those complex and complicado conversations about the gray areas in our lives. I'm Tre'vell Anderson.
And I am now published author.
Pew, 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 pew. Pew, 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 pew. Pew, 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 pew.
Jarrett Hill. Wow, what a Tuesday morning it is to be recording for y'all on a Thursday. Welcome to FANTI. It's a big day around here, and we're excited to be with y'all. As you know, our new book, Historically Black Phrases from, what was I going to say?
I don't know, girl. I don't know. You seems like you're getting a little emotional over there. Getting a little misty-eyed with the blue lights behind you.
Yeah, well, you know, I've been working on my place here for the last couple of weekends, and I've been excited to use it because I really like it now after some refreshing. But no, our book comes out today. We're recording this episode on Tuesday, and it is a big day for us with our book dropping. And so we kind of wanted to just chat a little bit about that this morning. We'll call it a pass the popcorn, but like it's a big moment for us. Tre'vell, I woke up and I saw online you had just posted minutes before, you and the manicure with the books and the first post that you had. What was today feeling like for you?
Oh, you know, I mean, just another day for a bad bitch. What can I say?
This is why we don't take you nowhere. This is why.
Anyway.
This is why.
No, but seriously though. But I'm being dead ass. Actually, I'm being dead ass. You know, because who you know got two books coming out in the same year, months apart. Okay,
and two podcasts.
Listen, okay, now we're not glorifying the ways that I overwork myself to the point of exhaustion, but
no, that's literally what we're doing. But that's quite literally what we're doing here, to be clear.
But you know, I had this vision for what a video with my two books could look like. Now, that is not the video that I made or posted on social media.
I was like, this was the vision? Okay.
It wasn't at all. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Cause you know I didn't have the materials that I needed to execute the vision, and so you know.
Wait, can you tell us what it was?
No, because I'm still gonna do it.
Oh, okay.
Now I just gotta save it for when I get another book to add to the collection.
And that's coming out next week, right?
Well, stay tuned. Just kidding. No, I have nothing in the hopper. But for you, this is your first book that's published to that people can purchase. It is an idea that has lived with you for as long as it's lived with you. You were just getting a little misty-eyed, it seemed. How does it feel for you?
You know, just another day for a bad bitch.
You know, it don't hit the same the second time.
I want that on a t-shirt with like hands that go like this. And just another day for a bad bitch. I want to put that on the shirt.
Listen, matter of fact, I'm copywriting it. I'm gonna start doing merch. 2024, I'm doing merch.
We're gonna have that available in the merch store next week. Palmyra, let's talk to Big Rum. Let's see if we can get that in the merch store next week.
Let's be serious.
No, but for me, it's been interesting. Like I slept in late this morning, which is I don't normally sleep in late on a work day, but like on a weekday. But I slept in a little late, and like I then woke up in like panic, like oh my gosh, but we have a show in 45 minutes. So that I was like trying to like get myself awake. But like seeing like people are starting to post the book, and I've talked to you about this before, but like it's been really nice to like hear people's feedback about the book and what they're receiving from it. And the thing I've been saying to a few friends this week has been, it's been really nice to hear things from people about the book that we don't necessarily write in the book, but that we hope for with the book, that we discuss when we're working on the book, that we aim for, right? But like similarly, earlier this year, you and I put on the media summit for NABJLA, and we got a lot of great feedback about how great the programming was and how much like the space and the talent and all of those different things. But like,
you're welcome.
I know for you and I know how important it is that spaces feel inclusive and safe and welcoming to people, and that they can feel love in the space. And like the best compliment was to hear from people that they felt a lot of love in the space at the media summit. And so for people to be getting the book now and to be seeing it and to reflect back without prompting that it's validating or that it was encouraging or that they learned something, like it feels great to like start getting that kind of feedback from people that are getting to enjoy it and embrace it for the first time.
Sorry, you just saw my face do something. That's because a vision dropped into my spirit that we need to follow up on once we get off this recording. I was like, oh, that's a thing. But no, yeah, I think that is always interesting. I think I've said this before, particularly around We See Each Other, but I think it applies to historically Black phrases as well, which is that, like, you know, the audience response, having conversations with people about the book is, you know, kind of the reward, if you will, like beyond, you know, everybody want to think about sales and everybody want to think about this and that and the promo and all of that. But for me, it is the conversations with people. It is their reactions. It is the revelations that they have after engaging with the work that is most important and generative and affirming for me. And so I agree with you. It's been good to see and great to see as people start getting the advanced copies, which is what, you know, we've been seeing people post right now. And then starting today, regular, you know, folks who, you know, don't have some sort of, you know, ability to get an advanced copy will now also be getting it. There's an audiobook that Jarrett and I read as well that you can also check out today. It's available on your Kindle. Baby, listen, wherever you get fabulous books and the bad ones too, okay, you can find historically Black phrases from I Ain't One of Your Little Friends to who all gonna be there.
I love that you're always inclusive of bad content.
Yeah, because let me explain why. Let me explain why, okay? Because you might not like the work, okay? But you don't have to like it, okay, to support it. You know what I mean? You don't have to like it to buy it.
Well,
right? And so you buy it from wherever you want to buy it. We'll be there. If we're not on the shelves already, have your provider request it. Request it in your libraries, request it in your classrooms, request it at your local bookstore, all right? And have a little fun with it, you know? And if you happen to not like it, you now know a place where you can buy books that you don't like too.
Thank you for clearing that up for us. Before we go and chat in our next interview, I just want to like take a moment to pause and say thank you to not to you. To our team. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, you were big ready.
Listen, this is why you got to watch the YouTube, okay, of the show.
Oh.
This is why you got to watch the YouTube, because if you just listening, you're not quite sure what went down. You just heard me screaming in your ear.
Y'all are really missing out. You're really No. Okay. So yes to you, but also this book process with the listeners, I feel like we've been talking about this book for 2 solid years, and you know, have brought y'all through this process with us and to get to this day where it is now available everywhere in good bookstores and bad. But we have like so many people who have been a part of this process for us, and like we can't name every single person, but like the team of people that are immediate with us, with our team at New Leaf, with Patrice and Trinica and Stephanie, that helped to get this sold for us, and the team at 10 Speed and Penguin Random House that has been really, really fantastic with helping us bring this book from idea to being on shelves right now. Shout out to Caitlin, our editor, Lizzie, our designer, our team that has been, they have really helped us to make this idea into what it has become and what you all are going to be able to experience. And then to our PR team who's helping us right now so much, Natalie and Joey, we appreciate y'all so much as well. I'm just really grateful for how many hands have been a part of making this come to fruition from this, idea we've talked about way too many times on this show. And then Tre'vell, to you, I would say thank you for the lens that you brought to this, the ideation that you brought to this, the collaboration that you brought to this, to make it into something that has become even better than it could have been before. And I'm just really grateful for all of y'all taking this idea and running with it. And now
the book is here. You're welcome. All right, y'all. We are going to take a quick break. But we really are going to take a quick break, okay? Because we got some bills to pay. And when we come back, we will be talking with Dara Sanderson, CEO of Dictionary.com. This episode of FANTI is brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first ever bake from frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, fresh pastas, and artisanal pastries. Every item bakes from frozen in 25 minutes or less. No thawing required. I particularly love the croissant. We have told y'all plenty times about the croissants. They also have a chocolate croissant that is also really, really good. And the pasta is not too shabby as well.
Yes, indeed. I actually have run out of my wild grain box and I haven't had the bread to add to my dinner, and I've been really irritated with myself. And we're trying to remind myself that we have a fantastic offer that's available for us. So I need to make sure to utilize it. If you haven't gotten wild grain, you should definitely check out the croissants, but also they give you these fantastic sourdoughs. The desserts, they have really, really delicious pastries. There was a lemon raspberry situation that I had that was delicious. All of it is available for you right now, and you can now fully customize your wild grain box so you can get any combination of bread, pasta, and pastry that you like. Plus, for a limited time, you can get $30 off your first box, plus free croissants in every box. What? When you go to wildgrain.com/FANTI to start your subscription. That's wildgrain.com/FANTI. It's shocking. It's shocking.
Welcome back, beautiful people. As we have said on this here show plenty of times, Black people are not a monolith. And I always have this urge to be like, well, and that's largely because there are some things that I believe unite us as a people, right? Much of it has to do with how we've had to respond to, in the words of Bell Hooks, imperialist, white supremacist, heteropatriarchy. But there are some things that bind us into ties more brotherly, sisterly, and sibling And I think language is one of them, because everybody's Black mama has said one time or another, do you got McDonald's money? It's something that we all have heard it. We've all felt it. We've all had that experience. We've all had a Black mama ask us or say to us, I ain't one of your little friends, when they're trying to get us together. And then we all likely have said to our people, to our homies, to our homettes, who all gonna be there when they invite you to brunch or to a party or some other sort of gathering, right? And we all know, okay, that when somebody says God is good, the appropriate response is all the time. All the time, God is good. Amen. See, regardless, okay, to be clear, if you go to the church house 5 days a week or not, that's just stuff that unites all of us, it seems like, okay? But also, we've all had to navigate how we talk that talk, and how we talk that talk, particularly in mixed company. And so it's been really interesting for Jarrett and I to write historically Black phrases and have these conversations with different Black folks from across the country and the world for that matter. And we're excited to continue that discourse with our guest today. Her name is Dara Sanderson, and she is the CEO of Dictionary.com, which we've partnered with on their Word of the Day feature this week. We made some content that you can check out on their platforms all week, so go do that. Dara is a seasoned digital media executive with over 20 years of experience in technology, entertainment, media, and ad tech. Y'all, the resume is long, okay? We'll get into it just a little bit, okay? She's a mother, a mentor, an industry leader. Dara, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Tre'vell and Jarrett, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so on every show, we kind of start out with this like overarching question to get us into, our conversation. And as I mentioned, we've been interviewing people. I think we interviewed 8, 9, 10 people for the book, Jarrett. And they're different stripes of folks. We've got therapists, we've got linguists, we've got directors, we've got journalists, a little bit of everybody up in there, some actors and actresses. And one of the questions we've been asking everyone is like, what is a pivotal moment in your upbringing that you feel impacted your speech and your thoughts about how we talk as Black folks, good or bad? And I'll start to give you some time to think. And one of the moments that I often think back to is the difference in language that I witnessed in church versus at school. And it was not that it was, and I should say also at home. The folks know, but I'll share for you, Miss Dara. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. Shout out to the Gullah Geechee folks. And so, the way we talk there, when we're around our people, right, is very different than how we were, expected to speak in school, for example. And I remember witnessing those differences and not being able to talk like how I talk at home in school because it was, supposedly a sign of, lack of education or ignorance or, being lower class or whatever foolishness that people said, talking white, quote unquote. Got that one as well. So those are like pivotal things that I remember in my upbringing that like got me thinking initially about just kind of the different ways that some Black folks, speak as compared to others. What comes to mind for you in terms of your upbringing that sticks out?
Absolutely. So some of what you've mentioned also is true for me. Growing up, my mother and grandmothers were very, very strict about speaking proper English, right? And so at home, we were casual, but there was still always, if you said ain't, or if you said something, you were corrected, right? So it was kind of drilled into me, and I found myself doing it to my daughter, which is interesting. We can talk about that later. But so that was a thing where it was like when I was hanging out with my friends at school, I used slang, but I was always a little bit self-conscious about it. And there would be times where you would have those friends who would say, why are you talking white? And it was in my mind, I was like, well, this is the way my mother told me that I have to speak. So that's what I'm going to do. So that was one thing. But one that really stuck out for me, so I'm from Queens, New York, and I can have a New York accent when I wanted to go back. But I didn't know that until I went to college, that I had an accent. So I went to school in Virginia. I went to University of Virginia, and I was studying theater. And I can remember, I think it was, auditioning for a play or doing a rehearsal or something. And I had someone say to me, you're going to have to fix that accent. And I didn't even, it was like an awakening for me because I didn't hear it, right? In the way that when you're surrounded by people who sound like you and talk like you, and then when you leave your environment that you're in and you go to a completely different environment and you realize the way you're coming across is strange to them. So that was when I really started to think about and focus on, okay, well, I need to blend in better, right? So not just with the language, but also with the accent, my entire affectation, the way that I presented myself was very Black Queens, New York. And it wasn't until college, actually, that someone, even for all of that speaking properly, was called to my attention. That really stuck out for me and became the moment when I said, oh, this is something I actually have to change.
Jarrett.
So we've talked about these kinds of things on our show quite a bit over the course of writing this book. And like to hear you talk about your college experience makes me think about my own because I'm from the Bay Area in Northern California and I went to college in Atlanta. I did my first 2 years in community college in the Bay Area, but then I moved to Atlanta, and like it was so interesting because in Atlanta, I remember thinking like I did not want to pick up a Southern accent right? Like I was like, I had like made a decision that I was not going to use the word y'all. And like, that was like a thing that I was not going to do. And like, I had all of these like feelings about it, right? And I remember like, I wasn't like articulating that to people, but I was like, it will be you all, or it will be like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to like start doing that, because like I grew up in like a broadcast news era, right? And like I wanted to be I wanted, for a while at least, I wanted to be a news anchor. And like I knew that I was like, I had grown up watching that and like and imitating that, and like, but also had parents, or like I had a mom who would be like, all right. Like, she wasn't like a super stickler about our speech, but like there was some stuff that she would be like, now come on now. You know what I mean? And so, but I recognize that my dad, like my parents, the way they speak is just interesting to me in general. My dad pronounces the word car like he's from Boston and like he's from Richmond, California. You know what I mean? Like, but it's the only word that he pronounces in that way. It's ka, and I don't know why it's like that. And my mom is committed to pronouncing things the way that she sees them as opposed to what they are, right? And like she just like, and it's not like she's doing it intentionally, but like my mom pronounces things in ways that just do not register for me. And so like I've always like witnessed my parents' language and like and been aware of it. But then when I got to college myself, I was like, oh, I feel something about the way that I speak, and I didn't even recognize it, right? In acting classes in college, I'd had a teacher say to me, where'd you get that standard American accent? And I was like, I didn't know what to make of it. And like that kind of stayed with me as I went through college. So I appreciate this perspective, though, from you. I'm curious about when we heard that you were the CEO of dictionary.com, I was immediately like, it's a Black woman? Oh, yes. I'm so intrigued now, right? And the first thing that I was really curious about was like, how many I would imagine you are considered a tech CEO, right? And like, how many like Black tech CEOs do you know like yourself, and how many Black women do you know? Like, what is that community like for you, if at all, if that exists?
Very, very small. Being in tech as a Black woman, as I've been for a long time, I've become used to being one of the few, or often the only one, especially in any given room. But in the industry as a whole, there's just not a lot of us. So, you know, the people that I go to for mentorship, and for, some just have someone to talk to, not necessarily in the tech field. I know a lot of really strong Black women executives just across many industries. And so there's a lot of things that I can learn from them and talk to them about and share our experiences, not necessarily in the tech sector, though, unfortunately.
I imagine there's a bit of code switching that is happening for you at work when you're in these different spaces amongst like your peers and other CEOs and executives. What is that like uniquely in the tech space as a Black woman?
We all code switch in different spaces, right? And throughout life. And we actually had a really good conversation about this recently at my parent company, which is Rocket. We have a Black employee resource group. And I sit on the board as an executive sponsor for that group. And we had a Juneteenth panel, and we talked literally about this, about code switching, and about whether or not at a certain point the code switcher is responsible, or is it everybody else who's responsible? And where I came down on this was, actually, I am the one who's deciding to do this, especially at this point in my career, because of how I was brought up or my own interest beliefs or whatever, and that the world is changing. I mean, I'm getting kind of older at this point. And so the way that I see things now is changing. Books like yours come out, right? And people are calling out things. And even I see in my own daughter, who's only 10, like I'll try to correct her and she'll clap back really quick and tell me, but no, that's how I'm going to say it. And I'm just like, what do you mean? Right? So I have done code. I've like had to code switch my whole life to get to where I am at a certain extent. You want to be taken seriously. But now I find that, look, I'm in a pretty good position. I don't really have anything to prove to anybody. And yet I still speak differently depending on who I'm talking to. Right? And it's about making other people comfortable sometimes, But sometimes it's also just because I feel uncomfortable now, right? Because of my own history, and no one's actually forcing me to do anything. So, we all do it, but the question of is it self-imposed at this point, or is it coming from outside, which is really interesting to consider.
Oh, that's so good. You just tap dance on something right there that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed that because we have an essay in the book about code switching. Jarrett calls it code calibrating because, he says that it's not that we're turning something on and off like a switch. It's that we're making calculated decisions, right, about how to show up in various spaces. And that, along with you both talking about your experiences in college, got me thinking back to my time. I have a friend who lives in Brooklyn. He's a superintendent. Shout out to Denarius Frazier. He's fabulous and amazing. We were on the phone this past weekend talking about the book, and he reminded me that we took a public speaking course at Morehouse, and that our instructor, Keisha, I forget her last name, but we remember the first name because we Black, and Keisha is a very notable name in our community.
Keisha's gonna stick with that one. Stick to the bones.
You gonna remember Keisha anyway. And Miss Keisha, had it was in that class that we learned about kind of the power in using slang in certain ways, in certain environments, to either signal safety, like we talk about in the book, Jarrett, for other people who are around. Like, we need them to know that they're comfortable with us, right? But how it can also be in the course of putting a speech together or doing debate. It can also be, a way to differentiate oneself and provide some sort of uniqueness to how one presents themselves in those certain spaces. And so I think it's all connected. One of the questions I wanted to ask, this has become, I think, my favorite question throughout this process of doing the book, is about your favorite Black communication tool. By which I mean, we as Black folks, right? In the words of Dr. Ann Charity H. Hudley, who we interview in the book, she's a linguist at Stanford. She talks about the ways that we as Black folks have like a broader communicative platter of options that we use to communicate. Right. So it's not just the words that we use. It's also the sounds. It's the body movements. It's the hands. It's that look that your mother gives you when you in trouble. She ain't even got to say nothing. You know what I mean? So, it's claps. If you are a particular type of Black person, you clapping while you speak, And so
paint a picture. Come on.
Listen, I'm just saying, we use our entire bodies to communicate as Black folks. And so for you, Miss Dara, what's your favorite Black communication tool?
It's the face. So it's not even the words. It's you look at someone like, like you give that face, and it's like it's so much comes out. And we joke in my family, it's like we have a problem with our face because you might try to say something, but the face gives it away, like what you really mean. And it's like you try to hide how you really feel,
yes.
But the face just always let it come out. So it is definitely the face, the raised eyebrow. They're like, "Oh, you scared?" You don't even have to say anything. That's what does it for me.
I love that.
I love that. I remember being in grade school and having people saying watch your face, like check your face, because my face will say everything, and that has been a thing throughout my entire life of trying to maintain my face.
Remember, Jarrett, when we were doing our swimming lesson?
Right, exactly.
Miss Dara, we recently learned how to swim for the podcast, and we documented a little bit for the listeners. And our instructor Jordan, while we were learning how to swim, I think this is related, Jarrett, kept telling you to fix your face, to relax your face. So it's a thing, Jarrett. Work on that. Mm-hmm.
Well, no, and our editor here, she's like, you have a very expressive face. It's always great to be able to cut away to you because you're always making a face. And I'm like, So I think I relate in the way with the face, like the face being something that is involuntary, and I will catch my own face sometimes being like, oh, I didn't even realize I was giving all that. I'm so sorry. Like, you know what I mean? It's a unique challenge for sure. How do you think about the ways in which we as Black folks drive culture with language? And I think about this in the book. We have so many different parts of conversation where we are talking about how queer and trans culture influence Black culture and then influence the world, right? And we do that with Black church. We do that with various different things. And so I'm curious about, in the role that you have at dictionary.com and thinking about language, how do you think about how Black folks and Black culture drives culture?
It's no secret to me, and I think no secret to anyone else, that Black culture has driven a lot of culture, just full stop, right? And Black English makes a lot of new language. It's one of the many sources of the way English grows, but lots of different ways. So even, my team, which they are the language experts, come to me all the time and will educate me on things I didn't even know. That were like the word cool, having its derivation from Black musicians like decades ago, and like things that had just become part of the culture. And so I was so pleased when I heard about your book and that we're going to be working with you, because these are things that we kind of intrinsically know happen, but it's been happening for so long that it's, maybe I, in a way, even took it for granted. And it's funny, like, so our word of the day today is tea, right? Which I know is also in your book. And as I looked at that, I thought to myself, when did I first hear that? And I remember, for me, it was on the Wendy Williams radio show in New York. I remember her talking about spilling tea in the 90s, right?
Yes.
And so to come forward, like 30 years at this point, and have that be the word of the day at dictionary.com. And I can remember the feeling that evoked in the way that she used to say, and ooh, how you do? And I remember all of that. And to see that now as the word of the day for dictionary.com just makes me grin from ear to ear, right? So for me, it's just an influence that touches so many things. When we have the 50th anniversary of hip hop, right? That's happened. That's all about language and how hip hop has just become music just for everyone, right? But it started out, as I would like to say, in New York as a very Black people East Coast thing. Yes, West Coast too. But now to see, I have to give that in there. But now to see how it has just taken over the world and influenced so much of music and culture and language, it's just beautiful to see.
I love that.
Well, first of all, we love a Wendy Williams reference on this show. Okay, you got the right audience with that. Okay. We love Wendy over here, even though she gets on our nerves every now and again. Okay, but we love her.
A whole episode on Wendy Williams, and in the very first months of this show, absolutely, that's so funny.
Before we let you go, I wanted to talk a bit. You mentioned this earlier, which is kind of the shift in language and how we communicate that kind of you're witnessing with your child. And I think it's always interesting to talk, to older folks about language, because I'm a child, okay? And let's be real. Let's just call it like it is. I got a lot more life ahead of me, praise the Lord. But the ways that we as Black folks in particular have the ways we spoke in the 70s, for example, very different than how we were speaking in the 90s, very different than how we were speaking in the early 2000s, and very different than how, what do they call them? The Z people? Gen Z?
They're Gen Z now, yeah.
Those children are, my God, new words, new ways of saying things. And I think, like you mentioned earlier, also pushing back against, right, what can be seen as more traditional or formal thoughts around how we should be communicating, particularly in mixed company, etc., right? And so I would love to hear you talk a little bit more about how you're seeing that shift and experiencing that shift in your own family, in your own everyday life.
Absolutely. So I already talked about my upbringing. It was very proper. This is how you. Now, with my daughter, I watch her friends, and we live in a very diverse community. And social media has to be said. Mm-hmm. The things that they watch on YouTube and the way that it influences so much, and it's so fast. She'll be watching things, and then I'll hear her using language that I'm just like, I don't talk like that, right? So a lot of my influence growing up was the people, my parents and the people who are around me. But my child now, yes, I have influence on her mother, but there's so much else that is getting in there and speeding up the way that she processes information, the way that she communicates. And the pushback is actually forcing me to think differently. Right. I am now questioning things that I once held as like, nope, this is the only way that you can do a thing. And to have my child say to me, well, mommy, I love you, I respect you, but no, right. I'm allowed to say this. I'm allowed to speak the way that I feel best communicates what my point and how I want to get across. And that's okay. And her influencing me to then be like, maybe it is okay. Right? Maybe it is okay. And taking that knowledge and taking that new freedom, if you will, and then realizing as an older person that now it is incumbent upon me to make others in a younger generation feel comfortable to express themselves the way they want to express it. And so you talked a little bit earlier about signaling that it's okay, it's a safe space. And realizing that in the position that I'm in, and there might be some young people who look up to me and say, okay, she's a woman who's, in power or whatever, making it okay for them instead of trying to restrict them, saying, oh no, don't speak this way. Now making it okay for them. So looking at that, just the way that things are changing so quickly and being influenced by it to question myself. I'm still on a journey too, just like, everybody else of learning and being more comfortable with myself and communicating in a way that makes me and others feel comfortable.
Something that you said has kind of like resonated in my head, thinking about how you said as a kid, the people who you heard speak the most were your parents at home and your family at home. But now we have social media and we have so much exposure to so many different ways of speaking, so many different languages, so many different like sections of language, and how it makes me curious about how that affects a generation's, language. Right. And like for it not to be so regionally focused or regionally influenced, but to have so much influence that comes from places that are all over the world, or places that are curated, or places that are fake, right, or generated, or all those different kinds of things. That's kind of sitting in my mind, and I'm going to be thinking about that more after this conversation. We so appreciate you being here and part of this conversation on such a big day for us, and so honored to be a part of Dictionary.com's Word of the Day. This was an idea of mine that I pitched to our team because I use Dictionary.com on the app all the time on my phone. I'm often using it here on the show to like give the classic definition of a word.
It gets on my nerves. I have to tell you, Miss Dara. He loves a definition, honey. He loves a definition.
I love to give the definition of a word because I feel like, as a person who has written now about language, like I know that like we can all hear a word and it means something different to us. And it's so important that we're talking about the same thing, right? And so definitions are so important. And so I get the Dictionary.com Word of the Day every morning, and I don't always open it, right? But I'll see it and know like, okay, that's the word, that's the synonym. And so I pitched this to our team and said like, oh, it'd be so cool if we were Word of the Day. And like, I had forgotten that I pitched it, and they came back and said we were doing it. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? And so I was like so excited that we got to be a part of this, and getting to talk with you today has been such an honor. So thank you so much for being here today.
Again, thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Told you it would be.
We want to hear from y'all about all of the things we discussed in today's show. Hit us up on social media using the hashtag FantiFam. We're on Twitter or X and Instagram and the TikTok, all at Fanti Podcast. Coming up, why y'all hate us so much and listener feedback and our dishonorable mentions. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
If you need a laugh and you're on the go, try STOPPODCASTI.
Were you trying to put the name of the podcast there?
Yeah, I'm trying to spell it, but it's tricky.
Let me give it a try.
Okay.
If you need a laugh and you're on the go, call STOPPPAD. It'll never fit.
No, it will. Let me try. If you need a laugh and you're on the go, try STOPPPTCOO. We are so close.
Stop podcasting yourself.
A podcast from MaximumFun.org.
If you need a laugh, and you're on the go.
I'm Iffy Wadiway, the host of Maximum Film.
I'm Alonzo Duralde, also the host of Maximum Film.
And I'm Drea Clark, yet another host of Maximum Film. Every week, we hosts huddle up.
Usually with an illustrious guest.
And we talk about films.
We have film news.
We have film quizzes.
We answer your film questions.
It's like the maximum amount of film talk. That's why we call it
Maximum Film.
Maximum Film, the movie podcast that's not just a bunch of straight white guys. New episodes weekly on MaximumFun.org.
Welcome back, beautiful people. It is now time to get into our listener feedback segment. This is our opportunity to read out you all's emails. And we have 2 emails here that we're going to do this week. Both of them are in response to last week's episode about the digital blackface-ish conversation that we had. A lot of people really responded to this. Okay, so the first email we have here is from Nick. Nick says, sorry to be a week behind on episodes. Work is kicking my ass, but I wanted to share how grateful I am for the episode because it's something I've got feelings about, except I don't even know what those feelings are. So hearing 2 professionals be as murky as I am about it means a lot. My friends and I have had a long-running Slack space for goofing off. Lots of gifs get shared. A minimum of half are of Black people, and all but a handful of us are white. Most of what we do in there, beyond talking about video games and musical theater, is complain about white people, so the gifs used are never in poor taste. But it still feels like it's something. You know what I mean? I mentioned Digital Blackface a few months back. Full disclosure, I actively don't like a few of these people, and I admit that I was baiting the one who, in my opinion, had she been assigned male at birth, would be an MRA fedora-wearing, my latest saying dude. And a couple people reflected on it for a while, but a couple others, including the one that I was baiting, got defensive. Everything in there self-deletes after 30 days, so I can't go back for receipts, though. All I know is that it still seems strange to me a bunch of white people, even well-intentioned ones like us, using those gifts disproportionately. But I can't really say why, so I don't even know how to start a real conversation, as opposed to baiting a jerk friend of a friend to get them to say some dumb stuff. It's a conversation I'd like to have for real, but it's hard when no one can even figure out why it feels weird, let alone begin to express it. All I know is I'm old and tired and just don't use gifs because those are for the youth. Nana tries, but I'm just too tired to figure out what it means when the guy is holding a microphone and slowly shaking his head while the camera racks in on him. Thanks for all you do, Nick.
I mean, I think you should send the group chat the episode.
That's actually a really great point.
Yeah.
As just another way of, introducing the conversation to them and the complexity there, because it is complex, and I think it's complex no matter what side of the race war you might be on, when that comes.
You know what? I'm not doing this with you.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying, I believe it was the Jarrett Lucas episode of the show in which Jarrett Lucas encourages white people to be race traitors.
Yes.
And I think, in talking about the race war, that's something for y'all to think about. Anyway, we've got a second email here from Sterling, also in response to that same conversation. Sterling says, hey, FANTI cousins, great show, and thank you for this. I honestly thought it was just me giving the side eye to the Black memes I receive from my white friends. And every time I do, I think the same as what you both voiced. Why are you sending me this? This was a good FANTI topic with many layers to unpack, and there were a lot. As I listened to the conversation evolve during the show, there wasn't quite a moment for me when the two of you could give this buffoonery the business like you usually do. It's a tough one. I had a white boss who loved to dip into the Slack feeds with Black memes to let everyone know how great everyone was performing or his displeasure with something. I always got, I love bread, Oprah, to express his encouragement to achieve a particular KPI. It pissed me off. His ass probably didn't even watch that episode or knew where that image came from, but thinking about that inspired this definition. A digitally manufactured gesticulation of Black people used by white people to convey a particular thought or belief. I had a few of my Asian colleagues thinking they had a pass, but it was mostly my boss and white colleagues. If I never see another meme of Obama, Oprah, Nene, and that good Lord, it's a fire black woman, that's Sweet Brown, who is, mentioned and quoted in historically black phrases. So it says, if I never see another meme of Obama, Oprah, Nene, and that good Lord, it's a fire black woman used to convey ignorant ass foolishness white people think is funny or cute, it'll be too soon. Got me all the way together on my walk today. Thank you for the show.
I love this. Yeah, number one, we'll send this definition over to Dara Sanderson for Digital Blackface and see what she thinks. This is really good.
This is good, though.
There was a few things in here for me that kind of like made my ear perk up. You were talking about how the why you sending us this piece, and like that's something that like has stayed with me since the episode. Like that kind of question, and like Palmyra had asked us, what we wanted to name the episode afterward, and I said, "What you laughing at?" or something like that, or like that just has been one of the things that stayed with me from the episode. So that was resonant. But also like having a white man send an Oprah gif, it's happened so many times, and let me tell you, it always hits interestingly, especially when it's a boss. I don't know what it is. It just lands interesting for me. And again, I don't know that it's wrong or bad, but I know that it doesn't feel wonderful. You know what I mean?
Listen, okay. Also, quick shout out to longtime listener of the show, former guest of the show, Portia, who texted me a screenshot of them asking one of their white friends, I guess, sent them a meme or, a black gif or whatever.
Oh no.
And
oh no.
They asked the question, why is this funny to you? Or whatever. Because you remember that was one of my suggestions during Now, I don't know where the conversation landed for them, but I was like, oh, wow, we are radicalizing folks, Jarrett.
Oh, no.
We are radicalizing folks.
Well, it's funny because, like, we've said here before, like, I don't always listen back to the show like I was here. And so, like, sometimes I end up going back and I watched this week's episode. And, like, that part of the episode stuck with me as well because it was a particular kind of cackle, the moment where we were like, now that could start a moment where there wasn't one. That stayed with me as well. Thank y'all for this. This was a really great conversation that I really appreciated y'all's feedback to. I also want to say, like, I was watching the YouTube version of the episode and the producers, y'all are having fun in the edits with the dings and the graphic. Like, it's a lot of fun over on YouTube. So I appreciate what y'all are doing. I know that it's a lot of work. So thank you very much. It's a lot of fun. And now it's time for our dishonorable mentions. These are the stories or people that have caught our attentions this week that deserve a call out either for their good or for their stupid. Tre'vell, what you got?
Well, I think I mentioned this earlier on the season that I have been watching the latest season of Project Runway, which is an all-star season. And I think I highlighted when I first brought it up the OGs, like the black OGs from the first seasons of this show, being in community with some of the younger black folks on this show in terms of like competing this season. I want to shout out Bishme, who won this last season of Project Runway, black gay man from Baltimore. Really, really great work. I need some, if you listening out there, if anybody out there know Bishme, tell Bishme that I make a perfect muse. Okay, yes. For his fabulously black fashions, okay? And so if he's looking for, a new model to shut down, the runway, or, I also don't mind. I pay a couple dollars for the pieces. I ain't paying a lot of dollars, and I know he probably, he won the show, so he probably can command a whole lot of dollars, because that's good stuff. But I pay a couple dollars, not a lot of dollars, so give me a little discount, the black queer discount. Power to the people. Wow. Anyway, shout out to Bishme, and all of the folks, particularly the black folks who were on this last season of Project Runway. So good, such great television. Also, quick shout out to a mention for the Big Brother hive that is out there. Sheena, shout out to you, because I know she gonna tweet me about this. But Big Brother, Very entertaining this season.
Oh, really?
Very, very entertaining. And I don't do all of the feeds and all of the background stuff. I watch what comes on television, and that is enough for me. Mm-hmm. And I just want to say I am super entertained by the antics, by everyone's antics. Cameron, Jarrett, Miss Felicia, Sari, Corey, everybody's antics are very entertaining. So shout out to those contestants and the producers and the writers. I'm sure the season was pre-written up to this point. The stuff that was scripted was pre-written because we're in a strike. But, shout out to all the people over there at the Big Brother.
How far into the season are y'all?
I don't know that. You want me to give you a number? I don't know the number. They have not started the jury yet, but the jury is going to be smaller this season, than it has been in the most recent seasons, if that's helpful.
Big Brother is one of those shows that I always say I want to jump into, but I don't if it's too late, because y'all do 2 episodes a week, and if you get 3-4 weeks,
3 episodes a week.
See, and if you get 2-3 weeks behind, you got a whole season of TV to watch before I can get up to today.
But let me tell you the hack, because I don't watch it live. I'm often watching it a day or 2 days, behind. A hack is each episode they do a recap. And the recaps are actually very comprehensive. Like, they don't cover all of the drama, but they're really comprehensive. So you can watch a few recaps at the beginning of episodes and then jump to the latest episode, and you'll be right on. You'll be cued in because it's also a television show, right? So there are gonna be flashbacks. There's gonna be the other things. So you can consume it kind of passersby. But if you're gonna jump in, you gotta jump in on the cookout season. Or if you really want some entertainment, Celebrity Big Brother is a key, honey. Okay, particularly the season with Tamar. Whew.
Wasn't there a British one with New York and Nene and?
Oh yes,
that's the one I want to see. Anyway,
I didn't watch. I don't know if Nene, but New York was on one. I didn't watch. I don't watch the international versions. I don't. Yeah, that's still too much for me. But they do exist.
All right, it is now time for
Black History is happening every day. All right, so going on our Queens theme, I guess, has become this episode. Shout out to Miss Dara. We are shouting out the one and only legendary Gwen Ifill. Okay, born in Jamaica, Queens, New York, to religious Panamanian and Barbadian parents, Gwen Ifill was the first Black woman to host a nationwide televised public affairs program in the United States, and the first Black woman to moderate the vice presidential debate, first in 2004 and again in 2008. She was a groundbreaking journalist, news anchor, political analyst, and authoress who inspired many other young Black women journalists after her. I would say Black journalists, period, after her. After she passed in 2016, PBS published a piece titled Dear Gwen, Letters from Female Journalists of Color She Inspired, which showed how deep her legacy is. Make sure y'all check that out. It was really beautiful and really well done. Ifill was a champion for diversity in journalism and said, quote, diversity is essential to the success of the news industry, and journalists must include diverse voices in their coverage in order to reach a broader audience. We have stories to tell, but many in our audience have stopped listening because they can tell that we're not talking about them.
I met Gwen Ifill at NABJ right before, within that last year before she passed away. It was in 2016, the year that both of us were there, and I was just thinking about her this week. So her being in our Black History is Happening Every Day is really, really is apropos. And if I can find the picture, I'll give it to y'all and we can put it up. So shout out to Gwen Ifill. Really, really amazing woman. Okay. We thank y'all so much. There are plenty of places that you can check us out this week outside of the podcast. If you're not watching us on YouTube, you're already missing out. But you can find us on dictionary.com. You can go and check out the word of the day. On Tuesday was tea, and on Saturday will be another word that we won't tell you what it is yet. You can go
Friday,
excuse me. On Friday, the day after this episode comes out, we will have another word. We won't tell you what that is. You can go check it out on dictionary.com or on any of their platforms. And Tre'vell, you're going to be in Boston.
Yes, I will be in the Boston area this weekend, Saturday, September 23rd. 23rd, doing a book talk with my good friend, former guest of the show, Dr. Jarrett A. Loggins, about my first book, We See Each Other, a Black Trans Journey Through TV and Film, with the All She Wrote bookstore. We'll be at a queer affirming church that is in the area called Connection. Check that out. Check me out. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm also in Boston, I should say, for a Black media professionals. I don't know the name of it, but it's some summit, Black Media Summit, that's happening at Boston University. And so I'm on a panel for that summit on Friday. And then on Saturday, I will be with the All She Wrote folks and Jarrett at Connection talking about We See Each Other.
Nice. All right. Y'all can find all of our episodes, everything about the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can go to fantipodcast.com, check out all the past episodes in previous seasons, including the episodes, some episodes that we referenced throughout today's episode. If you have a comment or suggestion about this week's show, we're at Fanti Podcast on Instagram, X, and on TikTok. You can use the hashtag FantiFam, and we'll hop into the conversation. I'm getting more on TikTok again, so I'll actually probably be in there a little bit more now. Email us at the show at fanti@maximumfun.org. We'll see. I don't know, because you know how I feel about TikTok, girl.
Yes, as always, I'm not even addressed to that. I moved right on. You see, I ain't even talking about it. We're not talking about it. As always, if you want to support the work that we're doing here, you can go to MaximumFun.org/join. Our music is by Corrice, the C-O-R, that's C-O-R, .ECE, wherever you get Slade-worthy music. Grammy Award-winning music as well. Graphics are by Ashley Wood and the folks over at Moonhouse Creative. Our editor is Anne-Marie Huber, and our producer is Palmira Muniz.
Our singer-producer is Laura Swisher. This is a production of Maximum Fun.